and I'm back today to record another live tarot reading for you guys. I want to mainly um, talk about this one in particular card that is fascinating to me, and this is the card that I'm going to be talking about today. Most people aren't familiar with this card or this concept, and I really wanted to talk about it. My guide was like really encouraging me to talk about it, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to do like a whole series, and I might continue to do whole series that just talk about specific cards that I find really informative and inspiring. So this one card is from this book, The Secret Language of Light. And I'm keeping it really simple today. I wanted to talk about this one concept or this one card, and if people have personal questions, they can ask me in a private reading or send payment for doing a private reading with me. So if you would like to book a reading, I also doing private readings. You can check out my website, oracledaphne.com. And I am still partnering with Jackery. Those of you who haven't gotten a solar power generator, I highly encourage you to go check them out. I have gotten premonitions that the power is going to be going out, and I did experience power outages for myself personally, but I also felt like it was more of like a global thing. So definitely want to check out Jackery. They are awesome. The link is going to be in my description box below, and I may post it also in the comments too to check them out. So yeah, I do want to jump right in and talk about this. So I'm going to hold it up again. This was the first time I had ever seen this this concept openly discussed. This concept, people talk about the Matrix. People talk about us being in a simulation. People talk about the concept of us not being necessarily real, and it's very difficult, I think, for most people to actually have like a visual or further understanding of what that means. And this card to me is a visual way to see how we are animated, to see how it starts off with one circle, the circle splits into another, and we have a physical experience. We are on a timeline via animation, and the timelines themselves can change. Why can they change? Because there's this overlapping of experiences. So again, I'm going to hold this up. So we have one circle here, and then splitting into the second circle. And in this center, we've got this, basically this eye. And the way that I'm actually able to record on my cell phone is this concept. I'm able to record video, and of course, it's linear, right? Like once I'm done recording, you're going to be able to fast forward to a certain point in time and be like, oh, okay, she was talking about this, and oh, she's talking about that. And the way that is entirely possible is because of this animation. It's because of understanding that we are animated, that we are part of a simulation. And what does that mean? Like, how are we supposed to really process that? And it's been something that I've been kind of trying to process myself, because I think for me especially, I've gone through times where I have been very heavily focused on the material world. I was raised on the East Coast, where there is a lot of material wealth there. A lot of people have a lot of material things. It doesn't mean they're happy. It doesn't mean they're satisfied. It doesn't mean that their relationships are great. It doesn't mean that they're ego driven. It just means that they have a lot of material wealth. They have a house. They probably all have swimming pools. They all drive very nice cars, and they all go to good schools. But the thing is that they are still people. And the strange thing is that I didn't start to really over-identify with the physical world until like I became a teenager, and even in college. I started to really grapple with the external world, and I started to feel like um, that in some way that was all that mattered. Um, and I learned through some lessons of gratitude that that's not all that matters. And so I think like me today, like wanting to talk about this, it's really about understanding, um, trying to understand it better so that we're not over identifying with the physical world, but we're not also simply living in a spiritual world where things aren't manifesting. It's like, to me, there has to be this balance between expressing your soul, expressing what your soul wants, and also being able to pay your bills, being able to pay your rent, being able to function in a material world, taking care of your car, putting your kids in school, dropping them off, whatever it is that's physical, being able to balance that. But I think in our culture, in our society, like the emphasis is so heavily on the physical that we're not understanding or remembering the spiritual. We don't even really know what spiritual is. I don't know how many people that you've talked to that if you went up to them on the street and said, well, what is spirituality? They might not know. All they might know is what they're going to eat for lunch, if they're going to hang out with their friends later, what alcohol they might drink later that night, and what relationship that they're in or not in, who's texting, who's not texting. I mean, it sounds very shallow, but at the same time, that's what we're dealing with. And I think like my guides are really encouraging me to get into like talking about these cards, because to me they're next level, right? They're next level spiritual growth. They're not just talking about, okay, who you're going to get married to, or like, are you going to break up, or any of those things. It's a much deeper conversation. It's a much larger conversation, a much larger concept, because okay, so the question is who are we when we're not over identifying with the physical world? Who are we if we have nothing physical? Who are we? But at the same time, it's unrealistic in our material world to function just as a soul. And like it's funny. I was gonna do like a whole separate recording about Keith Urban's new song "Wild Hearts" because it really lately has inspired me a great deal, and it kind of made me remember that I don't know that I don't know. I think of it as my wildness, or the thing that keeps me going. And and to me that's my soul, It's soul stuff. It's nothing, it's less about, okay, like, what status we have, or what kind of car we drive, or what kind of house we have. It's more of the spiritual soul. What are your wants? What are your dreams? What are you going for? Like, what inspires you? Like, you know, where do you want to travel to? What is it that you want to write, or what books do you want to read, or what plants do you want to grow, or all of that stuff is very like that soul stuff. So I think the world is at a very interesting balance point. And I think somebody else was talking about this. I think this was Lada Doncheva. She was talking about this with somebody. I don't remember who it was. In one of her videos, she's another YouTuber, and she talked, I think, about how that the planet was going to become more material. That people were going to become more and more and more material. And then there was going to be like this split between the people that were super material and the people that weren't material. And I'm getting a tingle on this, which is very interesting to me because that's what this card is. This is this splitting, the soul trying to express what it wants, and then people not really getting it, not really understanding it, being so focused because that's all they know. All they know is what food they're eating, is what car they're driving, is money, is career, is their love life, you know. It's it's interesting to me that I'm talking about this and my guide showed me that, and how in the future there will be this over focus on the material. And the weird thing is there are times in which I get very frustrated with my guides, and I've talked about this before. I get very frustrated with my guides, and it's like anytime now, anytime can things materialize and manifest in the material world. Anytime now. And then, I get very frustrated, and then a few days later, there's more material things. And it's just like, I know that it's possible to try to find a balance point between it, but it's very difficult. And I think some people are going to struggle really hard with expressing their soul truth, either at this time or going into the future. What that truth is. What is it that they want? What is it that they need? Expressing that on a soul level. What are their material wants? What are their material needs? All of this is going to be coming, I feel like, again, coming to the forefront of people. And I'm not sure if that's because there's scarcity that's going to happen, or if that's because there's other things that are going to come to pass that's going to make this split more, I don't know, like emphasized. But I think the point is for me, it's like trying to grasp like the fact, okay, well, we are in a simulation. It's all animation. Like, what's the point of all of this? What's the point? And the point really is to have. And what does it mean? Some people don't even understand. What does it mean having a spiritual experience in a physical body? People do not know what that means, and that's what this looks like. That's what this is. That's absolutely what this is. It's having the spiritual experience, what your soul is trying to express, in a physical body. And in my mind, it means not only just embracing the physical material world and having things manifest physically, but also embracing the things that we need and want on a soul level. And I think that that's, making decisions based on, and I talk about this all the time, heart-based decisions, soul level decisions, not decisions that are good for the bank, or not decisions that are great for stability, but soul level decisions. And I think that's the problem. I think that that's the issue right now and I've seen it for many people, that the problem that they face is that they want very much to grow on a soul level or a spiritual level, but they're chained to the bonds, that the contracts, the marriage, the lease, you know what I'm saying, the mortgage, their credit cards, their car payments. They are absolutely chained to all of that, and they can't really break free. And I think it's really very challenging at this time to even talk about that, because that to me is like, that is a major issue. And I'm not sure, and this is what freaks me out, is I'm not sure if this whole animated world that we're living in is set up for failure, or if it's set up for success. And so it's like, now it's going to become maybe a little bit depressing for some of you, because this is where a lot of spiritual gurus would say, everything's going to be all right in the end, no worries there. But I guess the hard conversation is, if things were really set up for success, would we be in this place that we are in, where we are heavily enslaved, heavily, where we cannot understand spiritual concepts at all because we are so in 3D density, hardcore material, hardcore, like, got to pay our rent and bills mindset. So are we set up for success? I don't think so. I really don't think so. I think we are set up for enslavement. I think that enslavement makes it so we have forgotten that on our soul level, there are things that we want and need, and those soul things are not met. And I could tell you I guess I'm not here to tell you to stop paying your bills and stop going to work. But I think for some people, like, it's almost like for me to be talking about this, they'll resist it because it's like they can't see a way to stop going to work and stop paying their bills. That we are enslaved. I think I wanted to talk about this concept because it's very challenging. It's super challenging, but it's very important at the same time that we at least have this conversation about how the animation, the oversoul is set up, has set us up for not being successful. The enslavement is what makes it not successful. The soul wanting to experience both the physical and spiritual at the same time is a success because we are learning and growing, and that is a success. Absolutely. People will always say, and myself included, like, some of the hardest stuff that I've gone through, I really end up being very grateful for on some level. Sometimes it pisses me off. Sometimes it depresses the hell out of me. Sometimes things do not work out the way I want them to. And sometimes it just is shitty. It sucks balls. But you know what? Most people that have those experiences don't regret it. And I think that that's the thing to keep in mind, is that on a soul level, it's a success. On a physical level, on this earth, it's not a success. It's enslavement. And trying to find that point in the middle where we're like, okay, how much longer can we carry on this way? Do things really have to become super, super, super materialistic in order for people to experience that their 0 point? See, because so like, if I was to say, okay, well, this is where it's all going, right? The way it's all going is, it's sort of like that millionaire that gets to that breaking point, right? Like it's $1 million, right? They don't really have a breaking point, but let's just say they did get to a breaking point where maybe they lose it all. And then they're somehow very grateful for the little that they have, the $100 in their pocket, right? That's where it's all going. It's sort of stretching the party really, really far. So material, and then we have spiritual, and then so we have these people that are becoming more and more spiritual, where they're letting go of their anything that binds them, anything that ties them down. They're embracing their wild side, they're embracing their creativity, they're embracing their freedom, they're embracing life, they're embracing being outside, they're embracing the planet, they're loving really hard every single day. And then we have these other people, the material, that totally have forgotten about their soul, that do not even understand spirituality at all, that cannot grasp onto spirituality because it means letting go of whatever security they have, and that they would be out on the street if they didn't have that any longer. And so they cannot let it go. They absolutely cannot. And so even thinking about it, it freaks them out. It's scary. It scares them. And at myself at times, I have to say, I've been very nearly homeless several times. I lived in one of the hotels in 2016 for the entire month of November of 2016. So, it's like one of those things where I can tell you that there is fear and I can understand that fear very, very well. But I'm not here to tell anybody how to navigate that fear. It's something that everybody has to work through in themselves. But I guess what I'm here to talk about is I'm here to explain that if we don't find the middle ground somehow, or basically choose a side, then we might get swept very much into the material without even realizing it. And in some cases, they get very swept up into the spiritual, where things don't manifest, where we don't have the things that we need, and where we don't have the ability to manifest in physical the way we need it to, because we're so blocked by this other material dense group that's like, no, you can't have that. No, that's all mine, right? It's, again, the split between maybe the super, super wealthy and the super not wealthy. Does that mean, but again, just because there is that connection does not mean money is bad, all that stuff, because money allows us and enables us to experience more things, to give to other people, to have the experiences that our soul wants to have. So just because, somebody's very spiritual does not mean they have no interest in money or that money is bad. That's not what I'm saying. I want to be clear about that. You can have a very spiritual millionaire person who's very, very like high level spiritual, and is very understands their balance point. So I'm going to check in my book to see if there's anything else. I do want to read the page that I read on my Instagram post. I'm going to read that here as well. Okay. It says, the outside world feels more real than the inner world because we have been encouraged to focus more on what is outside of us. We have learned to give things that can be seen by others or touched by us more importance than what we feel. Making decisions can become difficult when our awareness is focused away from our inner needs and wants. When our internal and external realities are integrated, decisions are clear and easily made. This leads to satisfaction as there is no resistance to your fulfillment. When we scan the myriad possibilities open to us in the manifested world, we will know what we want and will not feel overwhelmed. In this space, we become grateful for the decisions we have made and all the ones we will make in the future. There is a lot here about decision making, and I didn't really talk about this in my Instagram recording, but I should mention it here that for a lot of people, at this time, it's very difficult, I think, to make a decision based on what you want and need because of it affecting the material stability or security. I think for some people, this is about going around in a circle and not really making a decision, not really ever saying, yeah, no, or yes, this is how I want it, and not necessarily going in a straighter line. I think people tend to think in very linear, concrete terms, and they don't really understand the natural circular patterns and cyclical nature of how everything is set up. And we can talk about cycles in relationships. We can talk about cycles in the astrology. We can talk about patterns. But the animation, this loop, this filming of everything is what makes that cycle happen. And then we have astrology, and that's the program. That's absolutely the program. So we have we have multiple things happening, but it's all very circular. So history repeats itself. The things that we learn from are circular in nature. The more we repeat it, the more we have a chance to really learn the lesson very well, and that's karma. So these are all very interesting concepts that I could talk about all day. I do want to check my live chat, make sure, check to see if there's anybody that has any questions. I don't see any people asking any questions here. So I'm not saying that I have this totally down at all by any means, but I am saying that this is something to think about. And this is very fascinating to me. This whole concept of the Vesica Piscis is very, very fascinating to me. And I find it more fascinating because Pisces, the sign of Pisces, and anybody with their Pisces in their chart tends to have very circular patterns. Like they do things more than once, maybe 10 times, more than other people, okay? More so than other people. And people that have issues with decisions, Libra, Gemini, they have, or somebody with heavy Libra and Gemini in their chart, they have issues with, standing firm in the firm yes or the firm no. They have a difficult time stepping forward and not looking back and be like, shit, I should have done something else. Or waiting till the last minute and just living by the seat of their pants and just fucking doing whatever, which really isn't a decision. It's them having to get shit done because it's the very last minute and they have to sign the fucking contract. That's kind of how it goes. I think because we are all connected into astrology, this affects everyone regardless of Libra, Gemini, Pisces. It doesn't matter. Like, ultimately, there have been times in my life where I've gone back and made the same mistake again, where I've gotten into the same pattern with relationships, or I've gotten into the same pattern with family, or I've gotten into the same pattern with things that I should have said no to, but I said yes to instead. Or I've lived by the seat of my pants because I really wasn't able to make a decision and shit hit the fan. And it's not wrong to have that. It's just fascinating that that's part of the nature of this animation that we're living in, the planet that we're living in, the program that we're living under. So, I would say not to beat yourself up if you're struggling with any of these concepts, because this is going to be applicable to everyone. And I'm hoping that you're going to learn something from this, or at least I will have given you something to think about. On that note, I'm going to leave off here. Thank you guys so much for participating in this reading and watching. And, definitely subscribe to my channel. Definitely click the bell. People forget to click the bell, and most people are not even seeing my videos. If you'd like to donate, any donation at this time is super appreciated, whether it's $10, whether it's $100, it doesn't matter. All of it's super, super appreciated, and I'm very grateful at this time for all donations. So I'm going to say that thank you guys again, and I send everyone big hugs, big kisses, and I will be back again soon. I'll talk to you guys again soon. I wish you guys all the best. All right, take care. Bye.